Charlie and Grandad in Brexit. What's it all about? Part 3. The Single Market. Trade, Wages, Jobs and Brexit. What happens next? Well, Charlie, you know what a market is, don't you?
I sure do, Grandad. It's where my mum gets all my cool designer gear. It's open on Wednesdays and Fridays.
That's right, Charlie. Markets are where we go to buy things at the best possible price. You live in Bedford, which has a population of 80,000 people. So the size of the market is 80,000. All of them potential buyers.
I know all that, Grandad, but what's that got to do with the EU?
Be patient, Charlie. Let me explain something about markets. Bedford's stallholders pay a fee to the council. They then become official market traders. It's like becoming members of the club. They can then set up their stalls every Wednesday and Saturday and sell their goods without paying anything extra. They also get a say in setting standards on the quality of the goods that people sell in the market, health and safety rules and that sort of thing.
Wow, 80,000 potential customers, Grandad. That's a lot of people you can sell things to. If I caught a lot of worms and caught a lot of frogs, could I set up a stall and sell them on Bedford Market?
I'm afraid not, Charlie. You're not a member. That's a licensed trader. Only members, licensed traders, can get free access to Bedford's market.
Oh, so I'm stuck with all my worms and frogs and nowhere to sell them. I still don't see what markets have got to do with the EU.
Well, Charlie, I can tell you this. The EU is all about markets. The EU's market, and its posh name is the single market, it's the biggest market in the world. Bigger than the USA's and even bigger than China's. It has 500 million potential buyers. And it's got 28 countries whose factories, shops, businesses and farmers are all allowed to trade, buy and sell in that massive EU market. Or put simply, any member of the European Union can buy, sell and trade in any of the 28 EU countries that make up that massive market.
Whoa, Grandad, that is certainly big. I live in the UK, which is an EU member. Does that mean I can sell my worms and my frogs in the EU market?
You most certainly can, Charlie.
It's sure a big market, Grandad.
Remember, Charlie, 28 countries, trading, buying and selling, 500 million potential customers. 44% of everything made by UK workers is sold and bought in the EU single market, which keeps UK workers very busy in jobs, earning good wages. They spend their money buying lots of things from the EU market. This keeps workers in other EU member countries busy making things we in the UK buy. They earn then good wages and spend their money buying things in the EU market that workers in the UK make.
By gum, Grandad. So everybody has a good job, makes money, spends it, and everything in garden is lovely. Goody, goody, goody. Everybody is happy. But Grandad, what's going to happen when we leave the EU?
Well, there you have me, Charlie. To be honest, no one really knows. But it would seem there are at least 7 roads we can take. Road number 1 is to accept the deal that Mrs. May has negotiated with the EU. Or 2, we could say we're not interested in a deal and we could leave on Brexit Day with no agreement. That's called a hard Brexit. Number 3, we could try and carry on negotiating for an alternative deal to Mrs. May's. We call that the soft Brexit. 4, we could put the question back to the people, ask them whether they still want to leave or whether they've changed their mind and want to remain. That's a second referendum, a second of people's vote. Or we could, option 5, we could extend Article 50. In other words, we could ask for longer to make our minds up. Option 6 would be to say, look, forget about it. We're going to revoke or cancel the letter that we sent, Article 50, and we're going to stay in the EU just as we have been for the last 40-odd years. Or 7, we could have a general election and let the main political parties argue the pros and cons and then ask us to vote for which party reflects the things that we believe in. Oh gosh, Grandad, you have confused me with all these options. Which road do you think we should go down? Well, Charlie, you're not on your own if you're not sure. People up and down the country are asking the very same question. Well, Charlie, okay, let's look at some of the runners and riders in the Brexit race. At number 1 is Mrs. May's deal. That would mean we would leave the EU on the agreed date, still make a payment to the EU, receive some benefits for a 2-year period while sorting out a long-term trading arrangement. Now, this isn't all that popular, Charlie, but it could pass the post eventually. Number 2 is no deal, known as hard Brexit. This is worst of all worlds. We leave with nothing on Brexit Day, no one knows what comes next, and there's a large majority totally opposed to this leap into the dark option. Then number 3 is the alternative deal, known as soft Brexit. We pay a subscription, get some benefits and access to the market, but have to stand by EU rules whilst having no say in making them. This option, it's got some support. And number 4 is the people's vote. Now that people know a lot more about how Brexit will affect them, they want another vote, a referendum, as to whether they still want to leave the EU. And there's a fair amount of support growing for this, Charlie. And number 5 is extending Article 50 to gain more time to get a deal without crashing out on Brexit Day. This has got a fair amount of support as well, Charlie. And number 6, we have revoked Article 50, which means cancelling leaving the EU and staying in. This has lots of support amongst Remainers, but little support elsewhere. And finally, at number 7 is a general election to allow the political parties to state where they stand on Brexit. And people will vote for the one that reflects their view. Growing support for this, Charlie. So there you have it, Charlie. You know what the EU is. You know what it does. You also know that it's been around for over 60 years. And the UK has been a member for 45 years. You know that we had a referendum, a people's vote, in 2016. Just over half of the people voted for us to leave, and we are on course now to crash out very, very soon. I also know, Grandad, that people are not keen on crashing out, and we're considering
at least 7 options.
Well, Charlie, it's up to you to find out what your chums at school think and which of the 7 options they think is best for the UK. You also might want to ask your teachers what they think.
Well, thanks for that, Grandad. Can I get another treat out of the fridge? All this Brexit stuff, it's got me really hungry.